Here's something almost nobody tells you when you buy an apple tree. The size that tree grows to has nothing to do with the apple. A Braeburn can grow 6 feet tall or 20 feet tall, and it's the exact same Braeburn either way. What decides it is a completely different tree hidden underground. And understanding that one fact is the difference between a thriving pot orchard on a balcony and a dead stick in a bucket. Because you do not need a garden to grow fruit trees. You need a pot, a sunny corner, and a handful of things nobody explains properly. Let's fix that, starting with the secret hiding under the soil. Nearly every fruit tree you can buy is actually 2 trees fused into one. The bottom, the roots, is called the rootstock. The top, the part that makes your actual fruit, is grafted onto it, and the join where the 2 meet is called the graft union. Here's why that matters more than anything else. The rootstock, not the variety, controls how big the whole tree gets. There's a ladder of them. A vigorous rootstock throws huge amounts of nutrients up the trunk and drives the tree to 20 feet. A semi-dwarf settles around 8 to 12, a dwarf lands around 6 to 8. And at the bottom of the ladder sits the one you want, a super dwarfing patio rootstock, bred specifically to love life in a container. Its roots grow slowly, so it sends less energy upward and simply stays small, happily, for its entire life. The catch is that shops usually won't even name the rootstock. They just print a final height on the label. So that number on the tag is the single most important thing you read before buying. Ignore the pretty picture of the fruit, find the height. Once you've got the right tree home, there's a weak point on it you need to know about before you so much as pick it up. Look at the trunk and you'll spot a diagonal line, often waxed or wrapped, usually where paler bark meets darker bark. That's the graft union, and for the first few years it is a genuine weak spot. So the rule is simple, and it saves trees. Never lift a young fruit tree by its top. Always carry it by the pot or by the trunk below that join, because lift it from above and there's a real chance you snap the 2 halves apart at the graft. And keep an eye below that line too. If the rootstock tries to send up its own shoots from beneath the union, snip them off immediately. They'll never give you good fruit, and they steal energy from the part that will. Pinch small ones with your fingers. Use secateurs on anything thicker. Now, before you plant anything, there's a question that decides whether you get any fruit at all, and it catches people out constantly. Will your tree fruit alone, or does it need a partner? Some fruit trees are self-fertile. One tree the bees visit, you get fruit, done. But many are not, and a tree that isn't self-fertile needs a second tree, of the same species but a different variety, nearby. 2 different apples, 2 different pears, 2 different cherries. The bees carry pollen from one to the other, and only then does the fruit set. Get this wrong, and here's what happens. You plant a single non-self-fertile cherry. It blooms beautifully every spring. The blossom is gorgeous, and you never get a single cherry year after year, and you never understand why. So before you buy, check that label for the words self-fertile. And here's a bonus worth knowing. Even self-fertile trees crop better with a different variety nearby, because almost all fruit trees produce more heavily with cross-pollination, which is really just a great excuse to buy a second tree. So you've got the right rootstock, you're carrying it safely, and you've sorted pollination. Now comes the mistake that quietly kills more potted fruit trees than anything else. Do not put a small tree into a giant pot. It feels generous. It's actually a slow death. A little tree has small roots that take a long time to reach the edges of a huge pot, and in the meantime, every time it rains or you water, the nutrients in all that unused compost get washed away. By the time the roots finally arrive, the soil out there is old, stale, and half dead. So you size up gradually. Move the tree into a pot only an inch or 2 bigger on each side than the one it's in. Next year, one size up again. The year after, again, until you reach its final home. For a patio fruit tree, that final pot is roughly 2 feet wide and 2 feet deep, because remember, this is still an actual tree and it needs the anchorage. And here's a clever trick hidden in all this. With figs, olives, and citrus, that root restriction isn't just tolerated, it's a weapon. Cram their roots and they respond by pouring energy into fruit instead of leaves. It's the same principle as bonsai, and it means a fig kept deliberately in a smaller pot, sometimes as little as a foot across, will often fruit harder than one with all the room in the world. With the tree potted, 2 seasonal jobs keep it alive and cropping, and the timing on both matters. Repotting and feeding run on opposite calendars. You repot in winter while the tree is dormant and leafless because disturbing the roots then barely bothers it. Take it out, scratch away the old compost with your fingers, and a little root damage is fine. It actually stimulates fresh new roots. Set it into the next pot size with fresh mix. Firm it down so there are no air pockets. Keep the top of the root ball about an inch below the rim so water doesn't just sheet over the edge, and soak it well. Any decent container compost works, or a mix of topsoil and well-rotted manure, which feeds the tree and helps the pot hold moisture. Feeding is the opposite season. You feed in spring as growth kicks off by top dressing, sprinkling fertilizer onto the surface and working it lightly in. Something like fish, blood, and bone is ideal. What you don't want is anything high in nitrogen, because that grows leaves at the expense of fruit. It's a fruit tree, not a cabbage, and whatever you use, follow the packet exactly, because too much fertilizer can burn the roots and kill the tree faster than too little ever will. That leaves 3 simple conditions, and get them right and the tree mostly runs itself. Sun, water, and shelter. Fruit trees want full sun as much as you can give them, though it needn't be the very hottest spot. Water becomes critical in spring and summer when a pot dries out far faster than open ground. The finger test settles it. Push a finger into the soil, and if it comes out dry, water. If in doubt, water. Winter flips the rule completely. Now your enemy is water sitting in the pot. A saucer under the tree is useful in summer to catch and reuse moisture, but in winter you take it away because you need water to drain freely. If it pools and freezes, especially anywhere that gets snow and ice, the whole pot becomes a block of ice around the roots and the tree can die. Drainage in winter, saucer in summer. Then a little shelter, a wall or a fence at the tree's back, does 2 jobs at once. It buffers the wind that would otherwise rock a top-heavy potted tree, and since the root ball is small and never anchors the way it would in open ground, drive a single cane in beside the trunk and tie it on with a soft figure-8 tie. That stake does the job the missing deep roots can't. So that's the whole mini orchard. Pick the tree by its rootstock, not its label picture. Carry it below the graft. Sort out whether it needs a pollination partner. Pot it up slowly, not all at once. Repot in winter, feed in spring, drain in winter, water in summer, and give it a wall and a stake. Do that, and apples, pears, cherries, plums, figs, even something old and strange like a medlar, will live happily in a container for its entire life, on a patio, a balcony, a doorstep. There is genuinely no excuse left not to grow fruit, and the fruit you pick off your own tree will taste better than anything you have ever bought. So tell me, what's the first tree going into your pot orchard, and how much space are you actually working with? A balcony, a patio, a single sunny step? Drop it in the comments. And if you already grow fruit in containers, what's the one thing you wish someone had told you on day 1?